Chapter 5, Introduction to Payment Networks. Welcome back. In the previous chapter, we explored the evolution of payment instruments, from ancient coins to modern digital wallets. While payment instruments like cash, cards, and mobile apps are what we interact with on the surface, it's the underlying payment networks that power the entire system. Today, we're diving into the backbone of the payments ecosystem, payment networks. These networks are responsible for the seamless and secure movement of funds between consumers, merchants, and banks. By the end of this chapter, you'll have a thorough understanding of how payment networks operate, the key players involved, and the technologies driving their evolution. What is a payment network? A payment network is the infrastructure that facilitates the transfer of money between the payer and the payee. It acts as the highway that enables funds to move from one account to another, whether you're swiping a card at a grocery store, transferring money online, or paying with a mobile wallet. Payment networks are responsible for routing transactions, ensuring payment requests are sent to the correct financial institutions. Authorization, verifying that the payer has sufficient funds or credit to complete the transaction. Settlement, moving funds from the payer's account to the payee's account. Compliance, ensuring transactions adhere to regulatory and security standards. Without these networks, modern payments, especially digital payments, wouldn't be possible. Types of payment networks? There are several types of payment networks, each serving a specific purpose in the payments ecosystem. Let's break them down. 1. Card networks. Card networks such as Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover are some of the most well-known payment networks. These networks facilitate transactions made with credit, debit, and prepaid cards. How card networks work. When a consumer swipes, inserts, or taps their card, the transaction details are sent to the card network. The card network routes the transaction to the issuing bank, the consumer's bank, for approval. If approved, the transaction is completed, and the funds are eventually settled with the acquiring bank, the merchant's bank. Key players in card networks. Issuing banks provide cards to consumers. Acquiring banks enable merchants to accept card payments. Merchants, the businesses that accept card payments. Consumers, the cardholders who initiate payments. 2. ACH, Automated Clearinghouse Networks. ACH networks are used for bank-to-bank transfers, often for recurring payments like payroll, utility bills, and direct deposits. In the US, the ACH system is managed by NACHA, National Automated Clearinghouse Association. How ACH works. A payer's bank sends a batch of payment instructions to the ACH network. The network processes the batch and sends the funds to the payee's bank. Advantages of ACH. Cost-effective for large volumes of transactions. Ideal for recurring payments. Disadvantages. Transactions can take 1-3 business days to settle. Limited to domestic transfers in most cases. 3. Real-time payment RTP networks. RTP networks enable instant transfers of funds between bank accounts, providing near-instantaneous settlement. Examples include the RTP network in the US, operated by the Clearinghouse, the UK's Faster Payments Service, FPS, India's Unified Payments Interface, UPI. Advantages of RTP. Immediate availability of funds. Enhanced transparency and traceability. Use cases. Emergency bill payments. Peer-to-peer, P2P payments, real-time payroll disbursements. 4. SWIFT, Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. SWIFT is a global messaging network that facilitates international wire transfers. It connects banks around the world, enabling them to communicate payment instructions securely. How SWIFT works. SWIFT assigns unique codes, BIC or SWIFT codes, to banks. When a cross-border transfer is initiated, the SWIFT message instructs the involved banks on how to process the transaction. Challenges with SWIFT. High fees for cross-border transfers. Settlement times can take several days. 5. Cryptocurrency and blockchain networks. Blockchain-based networks like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple are emerging as alternatives to traditional payment networks. They use decentralized ledgers to record and verify transactions. Advantages of blockchain networks. Decentralized with no need for intermediaries. Transparent and tamper-proof. Global accessibility. Challenges. Volatility of cryptocurrency values. Regulatory uncertainty. The key players in payment networks. To fully understand payment networks, it's essential to know the roles of the main players involved. 1. Issuing banks. These are the banks that provide consumers with payment instruments like credit or debit cards. 2. Acquiring banks. These banks work with merchants to process payments and ensure funds are deposited into the merchant's account. 3. Payment processors. Payment processors act as the technology layer between merchants and the banking system, routing transactions and ensuring security. 4. Card networks. Visa, MasterCard, and similar networks provide the infrastructure for card-based transactions. 5. Clearing houses. Entities like NACHA and the clearinghouse oversee the settlement of funds between banks in systems like ACH and RTP. How a payment network transaction works. Let's break down a typical credit card transaction to see how payment networks function in real time. Authorization. The consumer presents their card to the merchant. The merchant's payment terminal sends the transaction details to the acquiring bank. The acquiring bank routes the request through the card network to the issuing bank. The issuing bank verifies the cardholder's account and approves or declines the transaction. Clearing. The card network aggregates the transaction details and calculates the net amounts owed between issuers and acquirers. Settlement. Funds are transferred from the issuing bank to the acquiring bank, minus any applicable fees. The acquiring bank deposits the funds into the merchant's account. This entire process typically takes a few seconds for authorization and 1-2 business days for settlement. Challenges facing payment networks. While payment networks are highly efficient, they face several challenges. 1. Security and fraud. Fraudsters constantly target payment networks, attempting to steal cardholder data or intercept transactions. Networks must invest in technologies like encryption, tokenization, and artificial intelligence to combat fraud. 2. Interoperability. Ensuring that different payment networks can communicate seamlessly is a major challenge, particularly for cross-border transactions. 3. Regulatory compliance. Payment networks must comply with a host of regulations, from PCI DSS for data security to AML, anti-money laundering, and KYC, Know Your Customer rules. 4. Cost efficiency. Transaction fees, particularly for cross-border payments, can be prohibitively high. Future trends in payment networks. The world of payment networks is evolving rapidly. Here are some key trends to watch. 1. Open banking. Open banking initiatives are encouraging banks to share data securely with third-party providers. This is enabling the creation of new payment services and enhancing competition. 2. Central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Central banks around the world are exploring digital currencies that could operate alongside or even replace traditional payment networks. 3. AI and machine learning. Advanced analytics are being used to optimize transaction routing, detect fraud, and enhance the user experience. 4. Blockchain integration. Blockchain technology is being explored to reduce costs and increase transparency in cross-border payments. 5. Sustainability. As concerns about climate change grow, payment networks are looking for ways to reduce their environmental impact, such as using renewable energy for data centers. Conclusion and preview. Payment networks are the hidden engines powering global commerce. From card networks to blockchain-based systems, these networks ensure that money moves efficiently, securely, and reliably. Understanding how they work is crucial for anyone entering the payments industry. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into one of the most critical components of payment networks, interchange fees and pricing models. You'll learn how fees are calculated, who pays them, and how they impact consumers, merchants, and financial institutions. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next chapter.